Duel Review is brought to you by NexusDigitalComics.com. Today is September 1st, and we're going to be doing the movie Tora, Tora, Tora. I'm RJ.
And I'm Nick.
Let's get to it.
Welcome to Thursday, the 1st of September. We're doing Tora, 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 which is a World War II movie, specifically the Pacific Theater. Thank you. Me and the history. Why don't you take it away?
Okay. It was a 1970 20th Century Fox film.
Okay.
And it's one of those movies that I grew up hearing about from my Uncle Roy. And he's really into war movies especially, but he always wanted to make sure that the younger generation, as in us and younger,
right,
really knew about World War II, and he felt that this film did really well. It's an award-winning film. It is a very good film. It's a little slow. There's a lot of talking heads during the first part of it, but what's interesting about it is the history behind it. There's really not a lot known, I think, by our generation and the generation younger about the Japanese side of World War II.
Well, I was going to say that I think a lot of people don't really know much about World War. Most of the kids these days don't have a big clue about World War II.
They're obviously very familiar with the Jews being exterminated,
right?
In Germany. I mean, that's
right. But beyond
justifiably, that is the thing to remember.
Beyond that, it's like Pearl Harbor happened in World War II. What?
Yeah, right. Right, it's not the Korean War, it was before that.
Right.
So, there's this whole side in the Pacific Theater with Japan, and this is about it all coming to a head, about, Japan signing alliances with Germany, and which is really doesn't make any sense to me. They saw it as a way to invade parts of China, basically. Right. But anyway, it's about their negotiation, in a sense, with America, and then the attack, so Pearl Harbor and whatnot. And as I said, the first is just a lot of history and dialogue. I think it is interesting, but it is slow by today's standards. And even back then, I think Roger Ebert thought it was kind of boring, slow. Mm-hmm. But it won awards, especially for historical accuracy.
Right.
There are some people who nitpick, like, the planes they used clearly had the wrong, aileron or whatever. Mm. But it is amazing to see.
They do this too, by the way, when they do that.
Yes. Aileron. It's all wrong. I don't know what you're doing. It's amazing to see all these planes, like in Japanese Zeros and whatever. I mean, most of them are fake. They've been faked, but they've been faked very well. And flying in Congress, it's like, it's not CG. It's really like 20 planes flying through the air, and B-17 bombers. In fact, there's a B-17 bomber that actually crashed while filming. Like, it landed on one wheel because the other wheel was stuck, because they're old birds, at this point. And they used it in the film because it was so fantastic.
Wait, did anyone get hurt in that?
No.
Oh, okay.
It lands. It doesn't crash. It lands, but it lands on one wheel, so it goes like that, and the blade pops off and all that stuff.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
But there's a lot of, by today's standards again, the planes are all lined up on the runway. I mean, if you know anything about Pearl Harbor, that choices were made that kind of made it easy for Japanese to invade us.
Right.
Fortunately, there are some things they didn't capitalize on, but one of the things they did capitalize on was having all the planes lined up on the field. You hit one, and basically the whole line goes.
Chain of action, yeah.
So they have some cheesy, like, people trying to take off and then explode, and clearly it's like balsa wood or whatever. But I think, by and large, it is a very well done movie. It's really interesting to see the history. One of the things that I don't think a lot of people know, even people who might be World War II buffs might not know, that Japan, when it was found out that they were possibly going to be attacking us, they basically saw that ships and like subs were coming in, to the area. The president, our U.S. President Roosevelt, sent a letter to the Emperor of Japan. Basically, he didn't want to give away the fact that we knew they were gearing up to attack, but he wanted to give them one last chance for peace, a peaceful resolution for peace talks. And when he sent it, the Emperor of Japan actually saw it as weakness, because he's like, why is he sending me this letter? He's just begging or whatever. And even though the Emperor didn't really want to enter the war like this.
His advisors said that with this letter,
right, the emperor at that point, it was really the other ones, not shogun, shogunate. No, that's feudal. What is it? The prime minister, kind of the Japanese equivalent to the prime minister. That it was the one that had the power.
Okay, I got
escaping me right now.
I got you.
So the emperor was kind of a moot point, but he was the one that kind of rallied the troops in a sense. And I've always been intrigued by seeing the Japanese side of World War II,
right?
Because there's a lot of hesitance there, even though what we knew as Americans were they were ruthless. They would not die. They would just they fought to the last man, and even if they knew it was hopeless, and that seems to be kind of a general Japanese sensibility at that time, is just you lay down your life for the emperor, period,
right.
Even if you're losing the battle. And so it's interesting to see this side of some of the higher ups were like, this is a bad idea. Why can't we do peace talk? We don't really want to wake up the sleeping giant. They knew better. And then also the population was they weren't aware of what's really going on. They just knew that the emperor had said do war, and so of course it's like kind of like the Pope. Whatever the Pope says, it's perfect.
Right.
Can't argue with that.
I watched the documentary, and I'm sorry it's been so long I can't remember, but essentially
there's so many of them.
Yeah, but essentially it was about the general who came up with the kamikaze idea, and how he just did not want to do it, but he wanted to. Help his country. So he came up with this idea, put a bunch of people in planes, sent them there. There's no way they're coming back. They already know it.
Right.
And let them crash. And I think the best part about that was, when he was being congratulated for that, he pretty much said, a better victory would be the one without conflict. I think
of course.
was essentially what he said.
Well, and
so I always thought
such a loss of life. I mean, they can appreciate that for sure.
Right.
The kamikaze thing is kind of a misclaimer. I mean, like people think that they flew over there just with the intention of plowing into a plane. It wasn't really like that. It was if you're in a situation where
there's no coming back.
Right. Use your body in your plane to inflict the most damage possible. So it wasn't like they took off knowing, well, they probably did know they were probably going to die, but
also because
they weren't like, I'm going to,
well,
quite as black and white as
from what I understood, they took off from Japan, and without anywhere to refuel, it was going to be a one-way ticket.
They did have a carrier nearby, but it was only one where it was supposed to be like 6 or something like that, I think. I think. Don't hold me to that. Okay, so I just want to do a bridge quickly into Call of Duty World at War, because that took... the war on Japanese islands and made a game out of it. I mean, a lot of it was done there. Some of it was still Germany and Russia or whatever.
Did they really talk about? Because I haven't played any of the Call of Duties. I know it's hard.
Yeah, it was really good.
They got into the whole situation and they talked about the Japanese side.
They did. They had these factoids in like cutscenes, and they'd like show the schematics of a B-17 or whatever, and then they'd give like a 0 or whatever, and they'd give like little factoids. They'd just say, this many people were wounded at this battle or died at this battle or armaments or whatever, and you had the horrible joy of using a flamethrower on the dug-in Japanese and stuff like that. Joy. Well, I mean, it's fun in a game sense, but when you think that this is like
this literally could have
historical,
happened.
Yeah. So anyway, but I do think that game did a good job of bringing some light to this unfortunately little known or remembered part. Oh, I mean, I'm sure people who were there remember it. That's for sure. So this is one of those things that just it needs to be remembered, and it's good to have it show up. This movie is not too heavy-handed. It does a pretty good job of staying current, I think. There's a few things, some of the dialogue that seems a little old-fashioned or out of place nowadays, but overall, if you kind of approach it as a history lesson with a fun battle scene at the end, because it is, it's Pearl Harbor, so there's quite a lot going on.
Right.
I think it's a good watch.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say that you had brought up the fact that Tora meant tiger in Japanese.
Yeah.
So it's like, who's that?
That was
in reference to.
That was the Japanese code word to use over the airwaves if they knew they were going to surprise us. So basically the Air Force had been flying in, the Japanese Zeros and whatnot, and the bombers. They'd been flying in, and if they knew they were going to surprise the Americans, which means if there was no aircraft, anti-aircraft. There's no anti-aircraft fire, and there were no enemy aircrafts in the air.
Right.
Then they knew they had gotten them by surprise.
Oh.
Excuse me. And if you say Tora Tora Tora, that will let everybody else know that it's by surprise and to go as quickly as they can because they knew
strike like a tiger.
They knew because we were supposedly supposed to have all these battleships and all these carriers. Fortunately, our carriers were not there at Pearl Harbor, but we had so many battleships and tankers and stuff and the fleet of Air Force there that they knew the only way to take it was by surprise. So that was a big deal, and that's where the title of the movie came from. I don't know if that's historical or not. I don't know if that's a fact or not. Or if it was just
but
an
in the
invention
movie.
for the movie.
Okay, okay.
Anyway, so there it is. Tora Tora Tora. Yeah, go check it out. 2.5 hours. First hour is a little dry. I'm sorry, it is.
Okay.
But I still think it's worth watching. If you are interested in World War II documentaries, this is.
Well, I was gonna bring up. Are there any good movies, documentaries that you would recommend?
Oh, there's so many. On Netflix, you can find so many of them. Most of them are about, Nazi Germany and the Jews, in Russia. So there are very few. But, I mean, Letters from Iwo Jima is a great film.
Right.
Ikaru, actually. That's one of my favorite movies. It's one of the, 500 best movies of all time, a couple years ago. And it's a Akira Kurosawa film. It is black and white. But it's about a man who gets stomach cancer and has to deal with that. But in the meantime, in the background, it is post World War II. And so people are talking about, they don't understand why they were fighting or, what's going on. All these people are displaced, they don't have homes anymore and stuff like that. So it's kind of the aftermath, and it's interesting to see the other side. It's always interesting. War is never, hardly ever, cut and dry.
Good guy, bad guy. It's always...
Nazi Germany, bad. Sorry.
Duh.
But, I mean, obviously there were a lot of people that weren't aware really of what's going on.
Right.
To this day, schools sometimes don't teach all of that. But anyway, it's interesting to see the other side.
Okay, so check out Tora Tora Tora.
Ooh, that's for you, Roy. Coming up, it's Strider, the video games.
Aziz, lights! Thank you, Aziz.
You want anyway. Alright.
Check it out.
Do you know what Tora 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 means?
Bull. No, it's Toro.
Yeah, then it's also Spanish.
Huh?
It's also Spanish.
No.
On today's Duel review, I act like an idiot.
I always do.
And I eat cheese.
There's no cheese in this room.
I make cheese and then I eat it.
How are you gonna make the cheese? There's no cows either.
Have you ever had those Baby Bell things?
What?
Those little individually wrapped Baby Bell things?
Oh, yeah.
They're good.
I'm glad.
I'm dreaming of a Baby Bell cheese right now. Cheese. Are you Sammy Davis Jr.?
Hey, baby! I can't even do a good impression of it. That's horrible.
So they do it. What he does, it's like morphed up, like morphine. All right.
Okay.
Today, it's a whole cream kind of show. Today is September 1st, and we're gonna get down, baby.
Way down.
To the ground.
Solid.
Yeah.
2 different time periods.
I don't know. I wasn't there. Cut me some slack. Groovy, baby.